the guy on the downwind as I speak. So see, there's a good reason not to flying in here in the pattern. Those guys would eat me up.
Well, I finally got out and got some footage for the traffic pattern video. It took a while, but man, you're going to enjoy this. Well, I've seen social media comments where people say things like, why would you ever fly from an airport with a paramotor? Well, not everybody lives in an area where they have access to the beach or to private property, and they're pretty much relegated to going out to the local airport and flying, because that's where they're going to be able to have the space to fly their paramotor, and it doesn't work anywhere else. So it's got the brand new Vitarazi motor.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at that. Hey, I've been trying to put together some video footage for a discussion about the traffic pattern. The airborne audio kind of sucks, but here's the first housekeeping order of business. The Patreon supporters that have been supporting me have now contributed enough money for me to buy a GoPro audio adapter. So I hope to put all of these airborne audio issues behind me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. In that same vein, those of you that are here that have learned something, especially if you paid for training and you learned something here that you didn't get in training, consider joining Patreon and supporting me at $1 a month per person per pilot. The first link in the description down here below is the link to the Patreon page. I had to send out a couple notices asking guys to reduce their monthly contribution. I'm not looking for any one pilot to contribute more than $1 a month. So, Mike McGuire, please reduce your monthly contribution to $1 a month. Everything that's contributed via Patreon will be plowed back into this effort. So please join the fray. You guys even know what that is?
I have a slight idea.
Traffic pattern?
Yeah.
Departure,
yeah, when
angle,
you get to
approach.
the intersection.
Well, I mean, so like that thing's surrounded by concrete out there, right?
That's correct.
And in airports where they dictate the traffic pattern, there's little legs that go off of it that indicate the way you should fly. What I'm referring to here is known as the segmented circle. The segmented circle gives a pictorial view on the airport surface of what pilots are expected to do at a non-controlled airport. And by the way, if the segmented circle doesn't indicate a direction of travel, you can assume that the traffic pattern is standard, or left-hand turns. That's why pilots sit on the left-hand side of the airplane. The command pilot's seat is the left-hand side. The standard traffic pattern is left-hand turns. I'll also include a link to this FAA publication that's available online, where they talk about additional traffic pattern information in the chart supplements. At the end of this video, we'll go through an exercise of actually looking up an airport. A certain direction. Now this airport,
A left hand or right hand?
it's left hand for going northbound, and it's right hand for going southbound to keep all of the airplanes over the fields over there.
That's correct.
So this came up at the local FAA the other day when I was over there, and they talked about, well, my friend over there said, well, he saw this guy flying a paraglider, and the only thing he didn't like about it was he didn't follow the traffic pattern. I'm like,
okay.
but an airplane is a hazard to a paraglider, and a paraglider is a hazard to the airplane. I think we're better off not flying the traffic pattern. So my point here is that FAR 103 says that we have to give way to everybody. And Part 91, the rules that the certified airplane and experimental airplane pilots abide by, says that they're supposed to see and avoid. But if we're in the traffic pattern, we're presenting more chances for them to interact with us and need to see and avoid. I guarantee you, if it comes down to an accident between an airplane and a paraglider, assuming both pilots lived through it and there's a court proceeding, the paraglider pilot is going to lose that battle. So
we don't want to get in a traffic.
Heck no, we don't want to get in a traffic.
We're not using the runway to land on.
And I think that was just...
We're trying to stay away from the runway.
Exactly. And away from the flow of the traffic. That's exactly right.
That's my goal. When I fly out of here, of course we're flying VFR. When I fly out of here, I try to get away from the traffic pattern.
Yeah.
I either go over there on that side
Yep.
of the airport, or I go out there and I stay below 1100 feet.
And I particularly try not to operate in the departure end or the arrival end
That's
of the
correct.
airport on either side.
Yes.
With that in mind, it's also only prudent that we stay away from noise-sensitive areas, and sometimes traffic patterns are specially tailored around airports to ensure that the bulk of the airplane traffic, as it proceeds around the traffic pattern, does not fly over noise-sensitive areas or ground obstacles or developments or things like that. So just because we avoid the pattern, we wouldn't want to intentionally fly over those areas.
Okay, so airplanes come into the traffic pattern 180 degrees out of the way that they want to land on an angle, and they join the pattern. And then once they're in the pattern, it's a big rectangle. There's lots of ways to leave the pattern. You can do a straight out departure, you can climb around in the pattern and pretty much depart the pattern from any point. But when they talk to each other on the radio, they know where the other guy is by how the nomenclature of the pattern is included in their transmission. So they'll say something like, "Hey, Bill, this is Steve," only they use end numbers. "I'm over here on the downwind," and both Bill and Steve know what the downwind means. So they know where to look for each other. And if they say, "Hey, I'm on a left-hand downwind," they know where to look for each other. If I'm on a right-hand downwind, they know where to look for each other. My buddy JC is up there. Says he doesn't want to be on YouTube.
Yes. And if I do cross the runway for whatever reason, I try to cross it at a right angle at an altitude where I'm not going to see airplanes. You know, they're going to be taking off and they're going to be climbing out, so I don't want to be in that area. If I'm going to cross it, I'm going to cross it at this end. Yes. Or they're going to be landing and then they're going to be on the ground, so I'm going to be higher in case they got to go around or something like that. I'm trying to formulate a lot of information about this because I want to submit it. If guys have reason to talk to airport managers, maybe they'll take a look at this and say, "Oh, well, wait a minute, we didn't realize the speed disparity." But, you know, you can see that guy. He's flying over the airport. I don't even know that he's headed here or if he departed from here.
Well, I watch the traffic pattern over here all the time because I live at the end of the airport.
Sure.
And I watch the planes that aren't coming here to land. They've just come.
And they transit the area without even calling anybody. But
so my discussion with my FAA buddy was, "Hey, you guys should follow the pattern," and I'm trying to put this informational video together so that paragliding pilots understand what the pattern is, and the airport administrators might have a better idea of why, maybe just maybe, it might not be a super great idea to have paragliders flying in the same pattern as aeroplanes. There's James, or JC, wrap right around him and join up on him. Pretty good pilot. He's been flying for about 3 years. One of the proteges of one of my favorite paraglider pilots. And I've yet to see him blow and take off or make a bad landing. Pretty good guy. I'm right. Here's the guy on the downwind as I speak. So see, there's a good reason not for flying in here in the pattern. Those guys would eat me up. So I'm under the pattern. There's another guy back there. I take that back. That's a hot air balloon over there. So I'm going to watch this. I think it's that Cessna 210 that was taxiing out. See what he does and where he goes. I want him to get on the ground before I commit to going in there for a landing. So he's turning base leg right there. And I'm inside of him, but because I'm slower, you could argue that I'm following him. And if you look, I'm looking all over the sky because I'm close to the airport field boundary now. So those of you guys that fly out of airports. It can be done, and it can be done safely in the conjunction with real airplanes. But man, you got to know which way they're going, and you got to have an expectation of where they're going to be. He's about to turn final. He's wing up to us now on the base leg, turn to final. And after he goes in, assuming he makes a full stop landing, I'm going to follow him. But I don't want to get in his wake turbulence, which should be behind and below him all the time. His wake turbulence will drift with the wind. So I'm going to watch where he touches down, and I will touch down after that point. So he's over the numbers right now. He's coming up on the 500-foot markers right now. His wheels are on the ground. So as long as I land after that point, any turbulence from his aircraft should be relatively mitigated. It looks like he's making a full stop landing. I don't see anybody else on the final approach. So I'm going to sneak in here and make a landing. Alright, so I'm going to basically do the same thing. I'm going to make a left-hand base. I'm going to come in here on final approach just like that Cessna did. I'm going to land on the grass between the taxiways and the runway here. I'm going to do just like he did. And I'm looking over my shoulder to make sure there's nobody else coming down the taxiway. And that's how you give way to an airplane and meet all the requirements of the FARs to do so. Or at least it's one way. There's probably a lot of other ways, but I'm not a big fan of mixing the airplanes and the paragliders. It's just not a good idea. They make so much wake turbulence. I mean, that thing taxiing by can create more wind if he gooses the power than I can fly through. We don't want those two vehicles sharing the same immediate airspace, at least in my opinion. So the best way to handle this is to talk it over with the airport administrator and maybe even suggest, hey, what if we had a pilot meeting? Have all your guys that fly out here locally send out an email and I'll come talk to them and maybe they can suggest some better ideas to separate the traffic, mitigate risk to them, because they're the ones with the authority, or well, I shouldn't say the authority, they're the ones with the right-of-way. And we're actually a hazard to them. I know they're a hazard to us in all reality, but the airspace system is created to protect them, not us. We get to share in it because of the carve-out of FAR 103. What we really want to do is ensure that those airplanes don't have problems, because that's where the change will emanate from. If paragliders start getting in the way of airplanes, causing loss of separation, causing accidents, you can bet that the regulatory side of it will be revisited.
So here's how you find that additional supplement information. Navigate to this page, the link is down below, and click on this Chart Supplement Search hyperlink. And then enter your local 3-digit or 4-digit airport identifier code. The 4th digit is the ICAO format. We can talk about that too, but 3 letters will work. When you get the return, I put in Orangeburg, South Carolina here. Go over to the right-hand side and click on the Airport Nav Aid listing, and then navigate to this page and read specifically about the runway. And sure enough, right here it says runway 5, right traffic. Now, standard traffic patterns are left-hand turns, The right pattern indication here is non-standard. So a real quick down and dirty. That runway 5 is equivalent to 50 degrees magnetic heading. You drop the 0. So if a runway is 18, it faces 180 degrees. If it's 36, it's facing straight north. It's 360 degrees. So it's not runway 36, it's not runway 18, it's runway 18 southbound and runway 36 northbound. So in this particular diagram, it shows the 4 segments, actually the 5 segments of the traffic pattern. The upwind, the crosswind, the downwind, the base, and the final. And there's multiple entry points and multiple exit points, and you should expect airplanes to follow this basic general pattern as depicted by that segmented circle and the nomenclature on the segmented circle, and as specifically delineated in the chart supplements. I hope this helps. I hope it helps you to understand how airplanes move in the air around airports. And I hope that you start to incorporate a plan, whether you talk about it with your local airport administrator or you see pilots flying and you just have a discussion with them and you say, hey, what can I do to stay out of your way? And here's what I'd like to do to be able to access this airport and fly safely. What can you do to help me? Hope everybody has some safe flying. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.